Hey, good morning. Joe here. It's Firearms Friday. We're in the classroom today at Larry's Pistol and Pawn on North Memorial Parkway store. So today I thought what we would do is try to dissuade some of the myths about the 5.56 223 cartridge. There's a lot of people that think that's pretty much the same thing, and they kind of are similar, but they're not the same thing. So today what we want to do is talk about the differences of the 5.56 cartridge and the 223 cartridge. So let's go to the slides first. The first thing I want to talk about is why they exist. And then we'll talk about what's the difference and why does it matter to you as a person who's shooting this ammo. So, why do these things exist? Well, the 223 is the original cartridge. It's been around from the beginning. Developed in '57 by Remington as a way to come up with a small caliber, high velocity firearm for the Army. Now, why is that important? The idea is that you could have a smaller caliber cartridge with the same lethality of the previous larger caliber cartridges, and if it's a smaller caliber cartridge, then the soldier in the field could carry more. That's the whole idea behind this smaller caliber cartridge. So Remington designated this as the 223 by SAMI, and I'll talk about SAMI in just a moment. The 223 is considered one of the most popular common use cartridges and is used by a lot of folks these days, both in the civilian world, police world, and in the military. So the 223 cartridge was inspired by this international tendency to come up with a small, lightweight, high-velocity military cartridge that would allow you to carry more ammunition. Obviously, if you're in combat, carrying more ammunition is a good thing. The 223 is really good because it has a maximum point-blank range characteristics and reduces the relatively low bolt thrust and felt recoil. So the less beat up you get as a soldier in combat using this firearm, the better off you're going to be. Now, the trick is the 223 is visually identical to the 5.56. If you look at them to the untrained eye, you cannot tell the difference in them. So let me talk about SAMI for just a minute. SAMI is the Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute. Now, this is a group of all the nation's leading manufacturers of firearms, ammunition, and components, and was founded back in 26 to create and publish standards for safety and firearms interchangeability, ammunition interchangeability. This is really important because SAMI, once they bless your ammunition, then your ammunition is accepted by the rest of the world. If your ammunition is not accepted by SAMI, then you're on your own out there just hoping that somebody will buy your stuff. So let's talk about 5.56 for a second. The 5.56 is a 5.56 by 45 millimeter NATO cartridge. It's a rimless bottleneck, similar to the 223 in all characteristics almost, and developed in the late 70s by FN in Belgium. Now, FN has developed a lot of cartridges and a lot of ammo. They've been around a long time. They do a great job. This was designated, though, as the standard service cartridge in NATO back in 1980. It's not exactly identical, of course, but it's very close. It was derived from and is dimensionally similar to the 223. So this 5.56 by 45 NATO round came from the .223 cartridge. So let's look at the differences in. They're very small differences, but have a large impact on performance. The major difference is the higher pressure of the NATO cartridge. The NATO cartridge at 5.56 runs about 58,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. The .223 runs about 55,000 psi. Now, this will vary by some manufacturers, sometimes by a lot in these off brands that you may pick up, which is why we don't recommend you buy these off brands. The second difference in the 5.56 has a chamber that is 0.125 inches longer in the throat. This allows for one more grain of powder to be loaded in the 5.56, and this is what gives it the higher performance than the 223. And remember, 1 ounce is 437.5 grains. Also, a pound is 7,000 grains. So keep that measurement in mind when you think about how much difference is this. This 0.125 inch longer throat allows that extra grain of powder to come in, which gives it this increased pressure. So what is the throat? Well, this is the throat right here inside the barrel. I got two pictures here for you. You can kind of see the neck here, the body, and the throat. So in the 5.56, this throat is a little bit longer right here, okay? And that allows for that extra capacity in the 5.56. The biggest problem with these differences is when you fire a 5.56 NATO cartridge in a rifle chambered for .223. They will generally fit. But this longer throat here, whenever this happens, will cause the 223 chamber to run at approximately 65,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Way more than that gun was designed for. So this 10,000 psi higher than the 223's normal functioning pressure of 55,000, this is not safe, okay? Now you'll probably get away with this for a while if you do this. You may or may not get away with it, but at some point, this additional pressure is going to cause real problems inside your 223 firearm. So the reverse of this is firing a 223 in a 5.56 chambered rifle. Due to the throat difference between the two chambers, the 223 may not work well in a 5.56 NATO chamber. This is because there's a lack of pressure built up by the 223 fired in a 5.56 chamber. This lower pressure then is designed for the velocity, and the accuracy will not be attained. So you're going to have a problem with that. Problems start occurring when this combination is fired out of a 5.56 NATO chamber with a 14.5 inch or shorter barrel. That creates a problem. So this lower powder charge of the 223, coupled with the pressure drop that occurs when it's fired in a 5.56 NATO chamber, will cause the rifle to cycle improperly. We see it every once in a while here in the range. People will come in with one of these or the other, and they try to mix these things up, and it does not work. Now, real quickly, the cartridge dimensions. If you look at this, and I'm going to show you the 5.56 in just a second, the dimensions are basically the same except up in this area of the throat and the ogive right here. Real quickly, I'm not going to go through all the details of this. You can stop the video if you want and compare them. But we talked about why do they exist. Smaller diameter, high velocity, lower recoil, lighter weight allows the soldier to carry more than the previous size ammo that we're carrying. What's the difference? Pressure is the big deal. The 5.56 is much hotter. Why does it matter? Because improper cartridge to the firearm mating can cause damage, destruction, or damage to you as a shooter. Now, to wrap up, one thing I want to make sure that you understand, whenever you're firing any firearm, doesn't matter if it's a 5.56 223 rifle, it doesn't matter if it's a 9mm handgun. There are three things you always check. Number one, look at the firearm itself and see what it's chambered in. If it's 9mm, 5.56, 45, whatever, make sure you look and see what it's chambered in. That's the firearm. The second thing is look at the box of ammo. For example, here are two boxes of ammo right here. One is 5.56, one is 223. They're very similar in looking and appearance, but the label is very clearly marked. So that's the second thing you check. The third thing you check then is look at the head stamp on the cartridge itself. All three things must match. We always teach this in class here at the store. The firearm is checked, your box is checked, and your actual head stamp is checked. Those three things must match in order for you to fire safely today. So we talked a little bit about 223 and 5.56. Make sure you do not mix these things up. They may look similar, but there's vast differences internally. All right, that's it for today on Firearms Friday. Hope you enjoyed this one. Next week we might shoot something, who knows. So come and shoot with us here at Larry's on North Memorial Parkway. Stay safe and stay armed out there. Take care.